You, me, and HIFMB, Stories of Science and the Sea.
Hello everybody and welcome to the next episode of the HIFMB podcast. In this episode I talked to Irene Roca from Spain, who works on bioacoustics, and we had a great conversation about different animals that she recorded on her recent trip to Antarctica, like orcas, humpback whales, different types of seals, and she actually does behavioral science through the sphere of sound. So it's super interesting. Definitely give this one a listen. She also has a very interesting career that taught her various languages like French, Spanish, obviously she's Spanish, and English, and now German, so also versed in her own sounds of languages. Okay, I give you Irene Roca. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the HIFMB podcast, and today I have Irene Roca from Spain for you. She's a biologist and a postdoc at HIFMB.
Hi, Jan. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm an ecoacoustician, so I work with Soundscape Ecology.
Mm-hmm. What is Soundscape Ecology?
I think I could maybe first describe what Soundscape is.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
basically, Soundscape comprises all sounds that we can listen in a particular place, in a particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this includes sounds coming from different sources. Normally, we classify them in three big classes. We call them biophony, so all sounds coming from biotic sources, from animals, making intentional or unintentional noises or sounds. So to communicate, we can think of whales, for example, calling, but we can also think of snapping shrimps, predating on their prey and then snapping their claw.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also think of sea urchins moving in the substrate, and this also creates some sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, these are all marine examples,
Yeah.
but in terrestrial environments will be the same.
And that's called biophony.
Biophony,
Okay.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have antrophony,
Okay.
which refers to all sounds coming from anthropic related sources, so sounds produced or noises produced by humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the same example, marine environments, it could mean motorboat or engines from the motorboats, noises, or pile driving, or even echo sounders to map the bathymetry.
Mm-hmm.
And all these create the sound that we call antrophony.
Uh-huh.
And we also have the geophony, which
okay.
are sounds produced by geological events or weather events.
Yeah.
So all rain, wind, surf, sea ice. This is also another big class sound source that we can find in our soundscape.
Mm-hmm.
And studying all these elements,
Yeah.
each one of them and their interactions, that's what concerns the soundscape ecology.
Mm-hmm. All three?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And their interaction.
Yeah.
And their interaction with the ecosystem, and there are other aspects of the ecosystem too.
Yeah. Awesome. So even though you're a biologist, you don't just focus on the biophony part, you focus on all three.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can focus on all three. And basically, I will say that the key of studying soundscape ecology is looking at this broader picture, the interactions of all these sounds and the ecosystem as a whole.
That's brilliant. Ecology from a sound perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. But in your recent work, you focus, or in your work in general, you focus on animals in this regard, or?
Well, yes. Personally, I have worked with a broad variety of ecosystems and vocal animal communities. So I have been working with insects, with, for example, studying the assembly rules of orthopteran communities. So these crickets and katydids.
Crickets,
and,
okay.
Yeah, they produce different sounds. Yeah. And I have studied, for example, whether their assemblage in specific communities has something to do with their competition for the acoustic space, for example.
Mm-hmm. How do you compete for acoustic space? Oh, yeah,
well,
okay.
you can consider the acoustic space another resource, like food for the ecosystem, for example. And then all vocal species that needs to communicate needs to kind of find their niche, their channel, right? To be able to differentiate themselves and understand themselves with their kind of specifics.
Yeah.
So this makes that they use some resources, some frequencies, some intensities, some temporal patterns that are specific to that species, and this makes them have their own specific channels and avoid masking with other species.
That's
and
sick.
this could create some competition for this acoustic space.
That's cool. So cool. I've never thought about sound as a resource in this way. This is so interesting. An entirely new world.
It is.
And with marine...
So I also worked with birds and anurans, for example.
What are anurans?
Anurans, frogs. And
right, yeah. Okay.
And how anthropic noise pollution could affect their vocal behavior, for example. And later on, I also studied a little bit fish acoustics. And now here at HIFMB, I'm working with marine ecosystems, specifically those from the Southern Ocean. So they are basically dominated by marine mammals.
Yeah, so
gulls.
Southern Ocean around the Antarctic.
Exactly,
Yeah,
specifically the Weddell Sea.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Which is that's part of the Southern Ocean? Or?
Yeah. It's at the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay,
so
it's...
Yeah.
So where the Atlantic would hit.
Yeah, will be between the Greenwich Meridian and the Antarctic Peninsula area. Yeah. The Weddell Gyre.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm part of this ocean acoustic group from Alfred Wegener Institute.
Yeah.
And this group has been developing this amazing network of passive acoustic monitoring. So they have these deep sea moorings with recordings attached. And it's this incredible acoustic observatory that has been running since 2006.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And they have a lot of stations now through the Weddell Sea Basin.
Yeah.
So it's amazing because it's non-invasively already recording while we are speaking now. So it's continuously recording information in a non-invasive way, and that we can work with and understand a little bit better that ecosystem.
Do you know how many there are out there? And how many microphones or high
Well,
defense?
they have, I think, around 22 sites now. Of course, they're not all active at the same time because they can record for 2 or 3 years, and then we have to go down back there with the ship, and then we recovered and redeploy new ones.
Yeah.
So it depends of the transects that are planned to do with the ship. Then we can go and recover some of them. So it normally is planned. So the path matches those recordings that need to be changed because they cannot record anymore. But yeah, I think there are around 22 recording stations through the Weddell Basin. Yeah.
And that changing, like that maintenance, I think you said you've recently been on a trip where you've done that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we recover the moorings, we bring them on board, and then we get the data that has been recorded and stored in the recorders, and we bring it back home to analyze, and we redeploy new ones. So another recorder with new batteries, new fresh SD cards.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna ask. So it's just SD cards.
Yes.
Okay.
For now, that's what we are using in this
How big are they?
Network. That's a good question. You got me there because I don't remember exactly, and Steffi will be angry at me not remembering that. But I can look it up.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Sorry. Okay, and so when you go out and
but big enough to last for 2 or 3 years, and with the sampling frequency that we schedule, so quite big.
what format do you record on? Is that?
It's wave. It's raw wave.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. Should be fairly big then.
Yeah, it is. But with new technologies, you have very small cards with that can record a lot of data already. So, it's increasing with the new acoustic technology. I think it's getting easier and easier.
Yeah, and so when you have these recordings that are continuously recording, you then how do you know that what's there when something is there? Do you get alerted or
well, that's one part of my task here at HIFMB, for example. So as you can imagine, this is a huge amount of data that is being stored all the time, and a lot of sites that you will need to go manually or visually, and hourly listen to it or just look at the spectrograms and to know what is in there. Yeah. And this is of course not possible to do for all of that. All of it. So
if they've been recording for 2 years?
Since 2006.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's massive.
So we welcome methods that allow us to automatize this process. And we create models that allow us to directly detect or classify the different species that we want to detect in these recordings, and alert us and say, well, this is the presence of a humpback whale or the presence of a specific seal. And so one part of my work at HIFMB, the first part was to create some of these models to automatize this process. And then once you have this information of the acoustic presence or absence of the different species in different times or in different sites, then you can work with this information and learn something about their ecology, of course. So with these recordings, for example, with the presence-absence information, we can draw maps of their distribution in time and space, for example. And we can also use these acoustics to learn more about their acoustic behavior. And because there are some species that have different vocalizations, there are different populations, we can distinguish different populations even to the individual, some species. And we can also know where these populations come from, or if two different populations coming from different oceans mix in the Weddell Sea. And of course, we can also know in which period of their life cycle event they are, if they're in reproductive period or not. So they have socializing calls or reproductive calls, for example. And knowing these, we can also learn a little bit about their ecology by relating these to the conditions of their environment. For example, the sea ice concentration or the sea ice conditions at that specific moment.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you make distribution maps, or if you think something changes in their ecology, do animals always make sounds? Like, could it just be that they were there, but they just didn't make a sound?
It's completely possible. Yeah,
okay,
that's one of the drawbacks of the method. Exactly.
Right, okay. And how was your recent trip, actually? How was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
What can I say?
that was your first time in the Antarctic, right?
Yes, it was the first time.
Oh, sick. I saw some pictures on Twitter. You need to check that out. It's
incredible. Okay. Yeah, it was really an amazing experience, and it was really interesting because I have been working with these recordings for very long, for already like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I have never seen before the ecosystem where it comes from, So it was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Did you see any of the animals that you're working with?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we saw different whales and
cool.
Antarctic seal species. Yes.
Oh yeah. Speaking of whales and Antarctic species, you brought some sounds with you today.
Yeah, definitely. We can listen to them.
Perfect.
We can listen. For example, we can start with the whales. We can start. I brought a humpback whale song.
Okay.
An example.
It sounds a little bit
like really cute.
Yeah, it sounds so cute. Sounds a little bit like a guinea pig when it does the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will think about that next time I listen to them.
Yeah, it's a very large guinea pig. So that was a humpback whale, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also brought some recordings from killer whales, some whistles.
Yeah, they sound similar to dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. They're odontocetes,
Yeah.
so they produce sound in the same way. And I also brought recordings from seals.
Okay.
From Antarctic, the true Antarctic pinniped species, the 4 species.
True Antarctic
Yeah, true Antarctic.
Are they untrue?
Untrue. Well, they're seals that have the ear, the external ear, or the true seals don't have it, and they also cannot stand. That's how you identify them. They are also different families.
And the others are called fake seals, or
no, fur seals, for example, and sea lions.
Ah, okay, right.
I brought examples from Weddell seal calls.
That's insane. That sounds like a spaceship.
Yeah, those are underwater vocalizations.
Okay.
And I brought also crab eaters' moans.
Mm-hmm. So that's just a fart.
No, it's not a fart. Come on. No, it's the moan. They have high frequency and low frequency moans that we record in the Weddell Sea area. And that's...
How come that seal sounds so different above water than below water? Or do they not make the typical sound?
Well, that sincerely, I don't know that this sound. But this is the calls that the crab eaters produce underwater.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you had some more species, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we have also the leopard seals.
Leopard seal. That sounds so nice.
It's really cute, and they are the most aggressive species actually. So
they're huge. So how big are they?
I think between 3 and 4 meters.
Yeah,
it can be very, very big, and they're quite aggressive. They actually predate on the crab-eater seals.
Oh God! Okay.
A lot, yeah, on the pups.
Whoops. Okay. Yeah. And then they sound just like a chicken or an owl.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Okay. And the last one is the raw seal whistles.
All right. Yeah, no, that's the...
Sirens.
Sirens?
No whistles. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that sounds just like a spaceship now.
Yeah, it's true. Those, but I really love them.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really like how they sound.
Oh, for sure, yes. Nice. Okay, so the first part of your work at HIFMB was this automation of recognizing different sounds.
Yes, exactly.
And what was the other part that you mentioned?
Yeah, so I used these models to extract the acoustic information, the acoustic presence, in long-term series of data from these Antarctic pinniped species.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to understand a little bit better what happened and what was their relationship with the sea ice cover in a particular station, because this station that we call Palaoa, it's near Neumayer station. It's very interesting because we have observed that every austral summer, these seal species reproduce off Palaoa in the sea ice. So they haul out on the sea ice floes and they give birth and nurse their pups there.
All 4 of the species we played?
Yes.
Okay.
Weddell seals, actually, they are more permanent. The whole year are present off Palaoa. But the other 3, so crab eaters, leopard, and raw seals, they actually come back every summer and then they go towards northern latitudes for the winter.
Okay.
And we have observed that they return to the area of Palaoa every summer.
Okay.
And the interesting part is that we know that the sea ice floes are critical. The sea ice cover is critical for their breeding.
Yeah.
And we can also track their breeding period because they produce these mating calls or they have this acoustic behavior that marks this breeding period.
Okay. So you can say when they're in a reproductive phase, you can tell that from the sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have also observed that there is association. So normally crab-eater seals calls, we start to listen them before around October, November. Then leopard seals start and then raw seals until January, something like this. And so we can mix these 2 informations, so the sea ice cover and their acoustic phenology, and say something about their behavior during the reproductive period. And we have observed that during very negative sea ice anomalies, so when the sea ice concentration it's very low, and then of course the seals or is non-existent, it could even be that during the period in which they need it, then of course these individuals need to search for another optimal area to breed.
Yeah.
And this, of course, expends some energy in doing other activities that are not the normal reproductive ones.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we have actually observed through the acoustics by recording their acoustic behavior that this happened in some specific years. So in the summer from 2010 and 2011, for example, in which the Eastern Weddell Sea had almost no sea ice cover already in December, or it was really low.
Yeah. So in Southern Hemisphere summer there was no ice cover there.
in the Eastern Weddell Sea specifically,
Eastern,
it was somewhere else, but we are always comparing to the historical mean.
Yeah.
And that summer, for example, was very low. Normally, in December, you still have more than 50% sea ice cover, even more.
Okay.
And in that summer, we register less than 10%.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
And we also observed that the acoustic activity of the 4 seal species decreased during that summer compared to other summers. And specifically 2 of those species, so leopard seals and raw seals, the timing or the end of their acoustic period ended earlier than normal. So basically, this means that they left the area of Palaoa farther off enough that we couldn't record them anymore. Yeah. And this indicates that somehow they had to look for somewhere else to continue and go on with their normal activities.
Yeah. Could they have found somewhere? Is there anything at that time?
Well, there actually in far off there was no sea ice cover either. So we don't know. That's something that we will love to continue researching and find any leads by studying other events like this one. Maybe we can understand better what happened during that year. So there are a lot of questions still to be answered, of course, but this gives us some ideas and some better understanding of the implications of changes or drastic changes in the sea ice cover in this area, for example.
Was that the lowest the sea ice has been for now, or until now?
It was one of the lowest. In 2016, 16-17, there was another low. And this year also, 2021-22, registered also, I think it was the lowest.
Oh, okay.
And in the whole Southern Ocean. So, I mean, I know it's still within the normal variation of the sea ice cover in the Southern Ocean. Yeah. But it's coming a little bit more frequent than before.
Okay.
So, yeah, we will see. We will still study these these events.
So when you say we, and you mentioned the ecoacoustics group at AVI, but here at HIFMB, there's you and who else?
At HIFMB, I'm the only one. I have been the only one for the last 3 or 4 years. Together with Ilse Valon-Zilan, it's my supervisor, which is part of Alfred Wegener Institute too. But I'm confident that this will change in the next years.
Yeah, exactly. Sweet. Okay, and sorry, are there any follow-up projects planned for what you just said, like for the anomaly in 2021, 22, for instance, or?
Yeah, I'm currently analyzing these data.
Oh, you are? Okay.
And trying to understand also what's happening with the sea ice cover in this region.
Okay, and since you're a sound person, you're also quite versed in your own sounds in languages. You speak a lot of languages, I think. You speak like Spanish, French, German. What else?
Well, English a little bit.
English, which we're speaking now.
Yeah. Those I speak. No more though.
No more.
Only those.
No, I think that's pretty impressive, and you speak them all very well, I think.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. And how did you come across them? Like how did you learn them all?
Well, I will say for me it works better when I live in the country in which this language is spoken. I think kind of forced me to learn it. So yeah, I will say that's my recipe.
So you've obviously you've lived in Spain. Where are you from in Spain?
I was born in Madrid.
The capital.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you excited about the Champions League final?
Well, I don't follow it. I will say I have many other things in my plate now.
Okay. Okay,
but, so I study in Madrid. I study biology in Complutense University in Madrid, in Spain.
In your bachelor?
My bachelor, yeah. And I specialize in ecology and zoology. I did the end of career project in the southern of Spain, in Sevilla. And then I did my PhD in Quebec, in Canada.
Yeah. Where did you do your master's? Is that the project
The
you meant?
specialization,
Right.
yeah, I did the whole. I studied during the old program in Spain, which the bachelor was 5 years.
Oh, I see.
So
Right.
three general ones and 2 specialization, which is equivalent to doing a master.
Yeah, we had the same here in Germany. It's called Diplom.
Yeah.
What's it called in Spain?
Sincerely, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't. I think it was just the career.
Yeah.
And it was 5 years, and then you specialized, and yeah.
Okay. And that was all in Madrid, and then a little bit south of Spain. And
Yeah,
that's
the last year was South Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in University of Sevilla, another university.
Yeah.
And then I did my PhD studies in Quebec, in Canada. And during the last year, while finishing, I did an internship at Syracuse University and also Cornell Lab of Ornithology in Ithaca, so New York, United States.
Yeah. So
And there I work with fish acoustics.
okay, in the ornithology lab you work with fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have this big lab with acoustics, and they study birds and herons, fish, whales too. So
What fish did you work with?
with toadfish
Oh, yeah?
specifically, and a couple of others. Yeah,
Do you have I think you brought a sound of the
I
toadfish
have a
as well.
toadfish sound. Yes.
Toadfish coming right up. That's so cute. Ridiculous. I don't even know what a toadfish looks like, to be honest, but it sounds super cute.
Yeah, it looked like a chicken or something. It sounds like a chicken
Yeah, it
to
does.
me.
Yeah,
It's really
exactly.
cute.
Yeah. Cool. So that's PhD. When did you get
Yeah.
into bioacoustics actually?
During my PhD, I specialized in soundscape ecology.
Okay, but
Yes.
was it advertised as a soundscape ecology PhD and you got it? Or?
No, well, the PhD was environmental science, and my subject specifically was soundscape ecology.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's what animals did you first work with?
Well, there I work with, as I mentioned before, the Arctopterans.
Ah, yeah,
I
yeah,
also
the
work with
crickets.
birds,
Yeah.
with anerones, also with fish.
Okay,
So
right.
quite broad variety of soundscape.
Yeah. And how long were you there in Quebec?
I was there for 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and after I finished, I worked a little bit for 6 months for the ministry, also with acoustics, helping them with to analyze some recordings from also a network that they were building.
Yeah. On what network were they building?
Acoustic recording. They were also monitoring acoustically
Okay.
specific sites, and so they wanted
Oh, right.
help with analyzing and creating models to
Okay.
automatize the process.
Ah,
again.
sweet. Yeah.
And then I came to HIFMB to do my postdoc.
Okay, and your contract at HIFMB started in 2018, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're one of the very first
First.
postdocs. Yeah.
Pioneers.
Yeah. Exactly. Pioneer. Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah. HIFMB exists since 2017, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And now your contract is almost over, I think.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
And I'm moving now to Canada again. And
Sad for us.
Yeah, it's sad to go, but also exciting for what is to come.
Yeah.
And
Do you go to the same university?
no,
Okay.
it's still in Quebec, but it's a different university. This is in Ottawa,
Okay.
in Gatineau, near Ottawa.
Okay.
And there we'll be working with the beluga whale in the St. Lawrence River.
Ooh.
Yeah, so very exciting too.
Yeah. Do you know what they sound like yet?
Well, I have an idea, but I have to get familiar with it and with the
exactly.
ecosystem. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. So we are almost at the 30-minute mark. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to mention or?
No, I think we cover a lot.
Yeah, we did.
I maybe would like to just highlight how important these sounds are for the ecosystem, how critical are also for the different species that use them to communicate, to navigate, to detect prey or predators, for example. And therefore, I think it's very important and our responsibility as humans to respect them and to preserve them. And I think it will help our children to be able to hear them and enjoy them also in the near future.
Exactly, that's so well said. And even in this short podcast, you've opened up a whole new world to me with like the niche and sound as a resource. It's super interesting.
It is.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, bye everyone.
Want to dive deeper? Surf over to hifmb.de or follow us on Twitter at hifmb_OL.